about that.
I signed up for an Ironman in 2010. It was my very first full Ironman. Hadn't done any triathlons at all. Jumped right into a full Ironman. Guys, welcome to the podcast, Running Your Best Life, where we give you tips and tricks on how to improve your running. And today we're going to share a little bit of my story of how I got into cross training and why I'm a big believer in cross training. Back in 2010, and even before that, like 2009, I was struggling to qualify for the Boston Marathon. I was doing race after race, getting close. Some of them I would get further, and I was just starting to give up. And then I picked up a book that said, Run Less, Run Faster.
Hmm.
And in that book, they were suggesting some cross training like swimming and biking. I started doing that, spending a lot of time at the gym, swimming in the pool and doing spin classes. And then I thought, since I'm doing all of this, why don't I sign up for an Ironman triathlon? And I went to the triathlon store. She's a good friend of ours, Robin. And I asked her, you know what, I'm thinking about signing up for the Ironman. Now, we had just had the Ironman uh, that uh, that Sunday before I went to
Hmm.
the store,
Hmm.
and she said, "Well, if you want to do the Ironman next year, you have to sign up today." But because back then it would fill up, and it said if you don't sign up like today or tomorrow, you're probably not going to get in. So I signed up for the full Ironman, and I still didn't have a bike. I didn't have a wetsuit, and I had to learn to swim. And I hadn't I rode bikes before, but not a road bike.
And
Mm,
yeah, not 112 miles.
no. And the
So,
funny thing
Paul.
is that training for the Ironman, because I was starting to even give up then because I didn't feel like I was making any improvements until signed up for the Ironman. I started taking the training very seriously. But what I noticed is I was getting faster in my runs and I was
Ah.
getting faster on the long runs. And I thought, okay, you know what? I'm going to try one more time. And it was in the middle of my training that I signed up for one of the marathons and I
Okay.
qualified after 17 marathons, 6 years. After 6 years of training, I finally qualified for the Boston Marathon and I credit it to all the
Hmm.
cross training.
So I think that our viewers need to understand that big courageous step you took was no bike, no real swim experience, and never having really trained for it was it
A triathlon.
140.6, right? Yeah.
Yep.
So the biggest thing that y'all have to realize is, oh, you sign up now because you have a year to train. The expense of the registration is pretty daunting for a new Ironman participant. We try out a full Ironman participant. The journey of training is daunting, and Victor didn't realize what was it he was in for. But y'all have to realize that he took that courageous step and did it, found the right people, got the right equipment, and he actually made it to the event. It was a very. I'll let him finish his story, but y'all have to realize just what courage that took, and then to allow himself to use the cross training methods of the cycle and swim, which helped improve his running time and speed and the quality of it to qualify for his first Boston. So this is a story that y'all really want to listen to, and we'll dive in a little bit more to some of our cross training tips. But this story, you really do have to hear it because it's not all good, it's not all bad, but it's a story of courage and a story of perseverance. So listen in, y'all.
Yeah. So basically, the very first Ironman that I signed up, I ended up DNF. I did not finish.
Mhm.
Mile 20 of the Ironman, I collapsed. I went too fast. I started struggling at the half marathon,
Mhm.
a part of the portion of the half marathon. That's where things started to go bad. My stomach started getting sick. I started getting nauseous, and it was just downhill from there. By mile 20, I was cramping, I was throwing up, I was on the floor, twisting and turning, where people were praying for me. And then the medics came and said, we could let you continue, but you're just gonna keep falling.
Right.
And
Right.
and then I thought, and at the same time, my dad was in the hospital.
Mm.
So my thought was like, we don't need two of us in the hospital.
Right.
I'll do it next year. And so if I had any suggestions for anybody is to join a triathlon club or get a coach. I did it cold turkey. I just I had my thing and I was just following certain books and I went too fast. I didn't pace
Mhm.
myself. The nutrition was not as optimal as I could have had. And that's where training with a club or training with a coach comes in handy, especially for that kind of distance. It's very,
Right.
very different than
Right.
even a marathon distance. A
Right.
full Ironman makes a big difference compared to a half Ironman when it comes to nutrition and your
Right.
pacing and all of that.
Right. So I'm going to interject a little something here as Victor describes a little bit more of his training. But one of the biggest things that y'all have to realize, I have not done an Ironman triathlon or half Ironman competition. I have done all the sports that are involved in this, the swimming, the biking, the running. And obviously the running was my of the three my competitive um sport. The cycling, which I picked up years after finishing my last marathon, but still running half marathons, and the swimming all supplemented how I kept my body in shape because I was already in my 40s and 50s, going into my 60s. How I didn't have the hip injuries, the knee injuries, the ankle injuries, the foot injuries, neck and back and shoulder injuries. All of that cross training complemented the impact of the running miles I put in for training as well as on the competitive race days. The thing that saved me was realizing I was 40 at my first marathon, was running and playing competitive tennis, and I started utilizing, my workouts that I always did in the gym. My son is a trainer and a fitness facility owner. He got me on some weight training to help me understand a little bit better my body, how it operated, especially as I was in my middle age years, so to speak. But the cross training, y'all, I have been very, very fortunate to have been doing that for now close to 30 years. The beauty of that is supplementing the competitive tennis with the running and then the swimming and biking and the workouts to supplement competitive running made a huge difference on my success, my compliments, my accomplishments, but also the lack of injuries from the sport itself. The two shoulder surgeries I had, and I'm gonna be very honest, were not related to any of my training. I was literally fell on a tennis court training for state, doing a practice session. And my other shoulder, I literally was parking my bike and hit almost no movement at all, just fell into a very large telephone pole. So my body took impact, and that's what caused my injuries. It wasn't from any of the impacts while I was actually moving in the sport. So one of the things that I want Victor to really, really dive into here is how that cross training on swimming and biking for the first time ever in his running history, how it complemented his body and leaning it out, the endurance and the strength. And obviously, it decreased his speed per mile so that he could qualify for Boston. So I'm going to allow Victor to really teach you how to do that. And then we'll give you some tips and some additional sports that'll help you with cross training if you're planning for an Ironman, half Ironman, and marathon training. So, Victor, let us know how that went.
Absolutely. Well, for especially for runners, there is quite a bit. What I've noticed is we want to improve our running times. Mm, I don't know if it's changed since I was started running, but back
Mhm.
then, I that's all I focused. It's like I um um I worked at UPS. It was my job was very hard, so there's like that's all I can do. I just can run and work and
Mhm.
nothing in between. So I lost a lot of muscle just from running because back then that's all I did is run, run, run.
Right.
Um, and I was suffering a lot of injuries. I was getting
Mhm.
plantar fasciitis. shin splints, and then those were I would heal, and then I'd go back to running, and I was improving my times. But before you knew it, I was there was another injury, and I didn't like that I was losing so much muscle because I didn't like the way it looked. Not only was the injuries, but I didn't like that I was getting skinnier and skinnier. And my daughter said, "Dad, what happened to you? You used to be buff." But so that's one of the benefits for cross training too, is that
Right.
you get a little muscle tone, or keep your muscle tone. If you're not, if you just run, especially when we get older, we start to lose a lot of
Hmm.
muscle. Mm.
Hmm. And I
And
think
that's what happened when I
yeah,
was,
yeah,
sorry.
the strength training is vital, and I'm gonna let Victor continue. But that training point is vital, and we'll address that a little bit later in our conversation.
Yes, yes, I agree. It's very vital. And I was, I got to restore my muscle tone. Everything came back, especially with the swimming, because you're using your
Yeah.
arms so much. And with the biking, you're using different muscles of your legs. So it was, the tone came back. You feel stronger and you just feel much better. Mm,
Right.
strength wise, I
Right.
guess, than
So I have a question regarding all that too. Did you notice that your nutrition and the way you were eating changed during that first experience training for all those that the first or second Ironman? Did you notice that your body started to process things differently and what you needed or maybe needed to eliminate from your nutrition?
I just remember doing a little bit more protein because of the volume that I was doing compared to just running marathons. I
Right.
needed to take more protein, but other than that, I wasn't doing much different, other than taking more protein. When I was running, I was keeping a certain diet, or I would get so focused in wanting to qualify for Boston that, like, okay, this year I'm not going to drink any alcohol. I'm going to eliminate sugar. So I'd go a long time without eating, whatever difference was going to make in my nutrition. I wanted to take advantage of that. When I started training for the Ironman, I think those things, just a little bit more protein, was the only difference.
Hmm.
I still wasn't, I was cutting back on the sugar and I was cutting back on alcohol. Mm,
Yeah.
Other
So
than that, it was the same.
more the protein. And the reason I asked Victor about that for all of our viewers is when you start doing some supplemental activities, obviously as Victor's expressed to y'all, he didn't feel great because he was losing so much weight. When you look at a very, very lean runner's body, male or female, it's very lean. There doesn't look like there's a lot of body fat to their build, right? But if you look at a runner who does some strength training, you'll notice that they do have muscle formation in their legs and calves if you really look at it, and they do have some upper body strength. And the reason that's important in your running, let's just take the running, is you want that core to be strong and you want your upper body to be strong, not bulky, because you're moving that in a fluid motion as you run. When you get on the bike, you need those glutes and those hamstrings to be able to support everything you're doing to pedal and pedal and pedal and build up your speed and build up your endurance. Regardless of how fast you're going, those legs are moving differently than when you're impacting on the street running. When you have that upper body strength, when you're swimming that kind of distance, if you keep some strength, not just build it during swimming, even light weights, you want to work on your lats, you want to work on your shoulder intensify because you're using those bodies, that motion, that arms, every which way. If you keep that strength there, you'll notice your muscle tone stays, your strength stays. What happens is you're still becoming very lean, but it's lean muscle. You will have that body fat, but it'll be very low. And I think that's what Victor is explaining to y'all. It didn't feel like he was at his best, and yet he was extremely lean in his running build. So I'll let Victor tell you a little bit more because I know he's incorporated the strength training in some of his workouts over all these years as well.
Absolutely. And I think it's, for runners especially, it's a little counterintuitive.
Hmm.
you try to avoid gaining any kind of weight, even if it's
Yeah.
muscle weight, because you
Yeah.
feel so much lighter when you're skinnier and
Right.
you drop
And
the
you're
pounds
lean.
and you run
Right.
faster. So it's like, and sometimes you can go so narrow-minded that all you care is like, I want to shave 5 minutes. I want to qualify for Boston. and and nowadays I have focused a lot more in longevity. What's going to give me to running more years and be
Right.
healthier
Right.
and yeah, and enjoy life a little bit more. So that
Right.
you start to, it's like, hey, what happens once you qualify for the Boston? What then is like, because you still want to have a life. You still, I want to keep running. I want to keep doing the sport.
Mhm.
And if you're injured or if you don't take care of your body, because uh, that's a good distinction to make, the
Right.
difference between one performance and getting ready for just one performance and the difference between wanting to be healthy for the long run. Mm.
So some of the key points that Victor has made, and a couple of things that I've been supporting his comments on, is injury prevention is huge, as you've heard him mention. It's building up your endurance, right, to do some cross training events. It's
Right.
also building up your strength, but you got to realize too, it's building up your cardiovascular, which we haven't addressed that yet. But the cardiovascular, your muscle strength, and your flexibility is huge in a triathlon. And the reason I want to bring that to your awareness is there's other factors that come in with the nutrition and the hydration. Yes, and we'll talk about that, if not today, sometime soon. But when your body can develop a comfort level during an impact event, which I consider the running portion of it, which is the third portion of that triathlon, you're in the water, whether you're in a pool triathlon, which sometimes you'll do the circle swim depending on the distance. Most of the time you're in open water, you've got swimmers all over you, you've got athletes over you, under you, next to you. Your fluid motion is not going to always be fluid, so what you have to do is navigate around the other athletes. That's where your strength comes in. You'll be able to move, your flexibility's been built into it, you'll be able to adjust. Your body finds a comfort level as you build into that timing, right? The other part is that when you're on the bike and you're transitioning, and Victor can attest to this, I believe, you're coming out of water. The water therapy is great on your body, right? You're not impacting the muscles with impact. You will impact those muscles as soon as you get on those pedals. Remember, your shoulders are down. You're sometimes down on your aero bars, your head, your neck, all that. When you can build that strength and flexibility, your comfort level that your body adjusts to increases as well, right? The timing of where that comfort maintains, you don't get that fatigue faster quite as that fatigue factor as quickly during those 126 miles, right? 112 miles, excuse me. Am I right? 112 for a full, I believe.
Yes,
112
112 for
full.
the bike.
Yeah. So remember that your full impact event happens on the run. Your body now is taking that, 7 times your body weight every step you take for 26.2 miles after what you've already done in the water and on the bike. So if you can maintain some comfort level in your body from increasing your flexibility, increasing your muscle tone, increasing your ability, the strength that you have throughout your body and your core, all of that is going to build towards your success in completing that journey, right? From the start line in the pool or the water to the finish line after you run. The key is that the more you focus on some cross training events, and this is strength training as well, you're hoping to prevent any injuries that happen during your training cycle. You're hoping to prevent injury happening during your event, right? And
Yes.
the other part that all of that contributes to, and I think this is very, very vital, y'all know I'm all about what's happening in your heart and in your mind. When you can transition through cross training, a lot of your mental breakouts and burnout is reduced, so that you become accustomed not only in your body being more comfortable to push and maintaining that comfort level for a longer period of time before fatigue sets in, but mentally too, you get through those tougher parts. You get through those transition points from each particular event. the burnout doesn't happen as quickly. You're going to get tired. You're going to get exhausted. You're going to get mentally, oh, I don't want to go anymore. Call an Uber, right? But the key is that as you build through your training, you're starting to reduce the time that burnout mentally and physically comes in. And I think Victor can probably attest to that because he's experienced the lowest of the low where he did not finish that first one. And yet, how many have you finished? Let's count
I've
them.
done two other full Ironmans, and
There
I've
you go.
done a lot of half Ironmans.
And I guarantee you, he learned from that first one how to avoid the physical and mental burnout and breakdown. So,
Yeah, yeah, you do have a point. And the other point that I was going to make that the bike helped me because I worked a lot in running with cadence.
mm,
Mm,
yes.
and increasing the cadence, it just seems like it made it easier when the bike because you put a light speed and you learn to really
Hmm.
spin those legs really
Right.
fast, and it translates really quick to your runs, so that you're running at a higher cadence. And I'm big in increasing most people. I work with a lot of older gentlemen and older people
Hmm.
in running, and if their cadence is low, which happens a lot, especially if
Hmm.
they started running at an older age,
Hmm.
most of them have a lower cadence when they start running,
Right.
and increasing that quickly makes them more efficient in their
Right.
running.
Right. And I think
Yeah.
too that's an exciting factor too because this we start to see some success which really equates to the improvements that you're making in your training. You get so energized, you get excited, you want to go to the next level. So that's where Victor and a coach comes in, and we say, okay, look where you are now, look where you were. what's our next what's our next plateau, what's our next stage?
Yes.
And you get excited to go through the training that the coach is presenting to you to reach that excitement of another level, correct?
Yeah, that is a great way. I'm glad you brought that up because
Yeah.
we were talking about strength training, and when you
Hmm.
do have a coach, and like myself, I usually do at least once a week,
Hmm.
one-on-one communication where the client is letting me know what they're feeling, where their pains are, and
Hmm.
that's when we make, as coaches, we make the observation and say, okay, now we know what muscles we need to target for strength training, because there's a lot of repetition in a lot of these workouts where one muscle gives out and the other one starts to compensate. So we
Hmm.
need to start building muscle around, especially the knees. I've
Yeah.
worked with a lot of clients where
Bingo.
the
Yeah.
knees, and okay, we need to start strengthening muscles that are going to support the knees.
Right. Right. Your quads, your hamstrings, y'all may not realize it, but when you have a glute tighten up because it's fatigued, that discomfort can generate from that site and generate but be more impactful down the back of the leg, the side of the leg, your knee. You don't want to look at a knee discomfort as the site of injury or the site of muscle tear or the site of muscle strain. A lot of times when you have a glute issue or an upper hamstring issue, you'll feel more discomfort in the lower part of the leg because it's generating down and you're compensating by the leg moving differently from in its normal gait, just in your normal activities during the day, not your fitness or your training. And that compensates to give you discomfort in other areas, which can also lead to an injury in that area. And I think one of the biggest things that I found is I always had, and I know Victor probably has this too. You're always told that you're not straight. And when I say that, you have a little tendency to have a leg shorter than the other one. And when you have an injury, a lot of times you find that out. I would always drag my left foot, and I'm left dominant. And I said, well, why am I dragging my left foot rather than picking it and planting it like I do on the right, which was really efficient? I always had a fatigue in my little butt muscle, right? Because of that, my fatigue muscle after all the training miles was usually in my left glute, lower left glute. I always, oh, my left butt hurts, right? It's a little sore. It wasn't a tear, it wasn't a strain, it was a fatigue feeling. And what I found is doing a little more strength training and a little bit more swimming and a little bit more agility allowed me to balance that out, to learn how to pick the foot up a little bit more. And it was a very conscious effort for many, many years to pick that left foot up a teeny bit higher rather than drag it in my gait, which then became much more intuitive and much more normal. And I started to eliminate that fatigue in that lower left glute. And I think Victor may have had some of those little specific kind of unique body
Yes.
parts that would be fatigued at times that he would work on too.
Yeah, or just injuries as well, like
Hmm.
IT bands, and where I'm working with a chiropractor. So when I have clients that they have maybe a really bad injury, or in the past, if they tell me, you know what, I usually train and I start hurting here or start hurting
Yeah.
there, then I know,
Right.
especially if they're telling me what their
Hmm.
chiropractor has been working on, then I know how to add even more exercise that are going to strengthen the muscles they need to keep working, because many times those are injuries that keep repeating
Right.
because we haven't corrected or we haven't strengthened enough of those muscles that are going to support
Right.
and
Remember, y'all, too, if you have some knee issues, look at your quads, look at your hamstrings, and look at your calves and shins. Are you having low muscle tone in any of those areas? Because when your knee, like let's say your patella has a tendency to shift, it can be a very painful injury, and you're not going to run, you're not going to walk, you're going to be really quiet for a while. If you strengthen the muscles that go into keeping that knee strong, like Victor was saying, that knee is going to hold in there for you during the impact, during your training and during your fitness and your race events, right? If you strengthen those quads and hamstrings up into the glutes, just just look at your leg as we're talking to you and look at the muscles that go down the sides of your legs, right? Those bands that go down the sides of your legs are going to stay strong to keep that knee strong. It's also going to give you that flexibility as your foot rolls in impact in the running part of it. You've already been in the water, you've already been on the bike. Now you're taking impact. When your feet and ankles can roll easily because the upper muscles are strong and lean, remember that's where the strength training comes in. You get that lean muscle strength, right? So, what you want to do is do that during your cross training. You want to have once or twice a week, depending on the body parts that you're developing and the body parts that you have to lean out a little bit more. And remember that your core stays strong. When your core stays strong, your upper body stays strong in your swim. It stays strong on that crouch, as I call it, down to your handlebars when you're cycling that long. Y'all, there's nothing better than having lean muscle tone with that strength built in, and the injuries are minimal and or preventable.
absolutely.
Hmm.
I totally agree. Strength training. Let's make it happen, and cross training,
Yeah.
for that matter. Yes. So if you are a marathoner who wants to improve your time, make sure you're incorporating some kind of cross training. Definitely some strength training. Mm. And the other thing, if you are interested in triathlon specifically, you can sign up for my program. I just started it. It's getting really traction. It's filling up because I'm only going to have 10 athletes in this group. It's a really specially priced, but it's going to be epic. We're going to focus on either half Ironman or a full Ironman. So this is called the Iron Edge. You can go to my
Mhm.
website and check it out. And I'll put the link on the description so that you can go check it out, because there's
Right.
only spots. But the nice thing is that I'm going to have a waiting list of 5 athletes. So if you can't get in, we'll put you on the waiting list, because some of my athletes are going to be participating like in June. So they may only want the 3-month program.
Mhm.
So if they're done by 3 months, that opens another spot for somebody who wants to jump in. Like I said, it is a really good deal. You get a lot of attention,
Right.
uh, uh, very specific.
I think
All
one of the
right.
things too that I'll suggest on that program too with Victor is when he works with his clients, if we work together occasionally during some of these programs, we'll talk to you about some nutrition and hydration and some of the other things that are intangibles from the training. So keep that in mind that Victor always has that as part of his program as well. So it's the whole package. It's earn your minute,
Yes.
right? It's the whole package. I'm gonna make two or three quick suggestions on cross training if you're in the mode to investigate the coaching program that Victor is talking about. Remember, if you're training for anything right now, there's a couple of things you can incorporate as you get into Victor's program. We can actually direct you through. Remember, use your swimming, your biking, and your run to cross train. Do your strength training, but also add in some fun stuff like your hiking, some yoga, some Pilates. You can do some elliptical training if you're got real bad weather or you can't get out and you want to do a run or a bike. Your stair climbing, all those other little things that you can incorporate in. Make it fun, y'all. Make it fun, and definitely get with Victor about that program. Look at our notes that he's going to be putting in there. He'll have information how to contact me as well, and any of the other information you need. Let him know and get in that program. Y'all get ready for your event. It's going to be so much fun.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you, Adele. Yes, you're gonna get Adele going to a lot of. She is wonderful at some of the mindset stuff. She's gonna be helping me out. We also have a couple of other
Okay.
um,
Yes.
coaches that are going to be part of that. So you not just get me, you get Adele, you get professional triathlon Garcia,
Yes.
Derek Garcia, and my friend James Gable, who's another certified running coach. Between all of us, you're going to get a really, really good coaching program. So jump on it. You're going to be amazing.
So I'm going to do a little teaser here for Victor and I. So we had put together a bunch of information on some cross training opportunities. A couple of things I suggested to him is that I pulled up some information. We wanted to address the longevity that cross training offers when you are an endurance athlete. We'd love to give you that kind of information sometime real soon too. And I also pulled up some of the differences between males and females in the endurance training and the longevity and the opportunities that cross training gives you to keep maintain that health as a male or female and what you should be addressing. So also with age and wisdom, we can offer that as well. So make sure you stay tuned to a couple more of our future podcasts so we can address some of these issues, especially you getting into that 10K, half marathon, half Ironman marathon events because they're all kicking into full speed right now.
Awesome. All right, guys. Well, that concludes our episode. We can't wait to our next session. I'm going to have Fleet Feet is coming on pretty soon.
Yeah,
Is going to talk about shoes. So
yes,
stay tuned for our next episode. We're going to talk a lot about how to get fit with the proper shoes
right.
for your runs. And I've worked with Fleet Feet. They are
Mhm,
amazing. Scanning your feet, getting the proper shoes,
right.
getting it all ready. And we're going to talk all about it in our next episode. So stay tuned.
That'd be great. Y'all have a great week. And Victor, as always, I love you. I can't wait for us to continue working together again.
Thank
And
you.
for everybody
Thank
who
you. I
signs up,
love you
it's
too.
called, remember, it's called Iron Edge, right? It's
That's
called
right.
Iron Edge, new
And
program.
yes,
Y'all go
click
to
in
the
that
notes.
description and go to the website.
Yes.
Sign up before it fills up. Take
We'll see
advantage.
y'all
All
next
right.
week. See you soon. Good night. Goodbye, my friend.
Bye bye.